Alright, the Jeep made it. It's back from Moab. Not without issue, but for the most part it did really good. I have a lot of footage from Moab, but I'm pretty disappointed when I'm looking at it now. Just, the camera truly does no justice to the obstacles and to the terrain at Moab. It's really frustrating when you look at something in person and then you look at what it looks like on camera afterwards, and it's just, it leaves a lot to be desired. I also really realized that I probably should get a new camera. This one is from 2016 and the quality really doesn't look that great when you're looking at some of the footage from Moab. So maybe I'll get a new camera at some point soon. So we got to Moab on the first weekend, Sunday. I found a camping spot out near Canyonlands on some BLM land. It was a really good spot. It had a really good view of the canyons and the mountains in the background and stuff, and it was very quiet and very secluded, and we had a bluff right behind us where we were camped at the base of that would be a really good windbreak, but unfortunately the wind when we were there was coming from the other direction, so it wasn't that great. But it already had like an existing fire ring and that sort of thing. We had been there probably an hour that first day. We started driving into town, and immediately we saw Bleepin' Jeep and the Scorpion Crawler. We saw Matt's Off-Road Recovery in the Morvair, the yellow Corvair. So we saw a lot of really, really cool, really nice stuff before we even started wheeling. We went to Top of the World, was the first trail we did on Monday. And that just happened to be the day that an industry run was there. So there was a bunch of guys from Motor Trend that was there. We saw Dave Chappelle. Trent McGee was out there. Vern Simmons, I think that's his name, the geologist guy that has the SAS styled Jeep. Anyway, so there's a bunch of other vendors out there too, like Moore was out there, Skyjacker was out there, a bunch of suppliers and stuff. Torque, the axle locker company was out there. There's a bunch of people out there. So that was really cool to see all those guys and see all their rigs up close. And there was no safari that day, so we had the trail. Well, we thought we were going to have the trail, without a big group, but we ended up getting behind that industry group, which wasn't that bad because they were moving a lot quicker than we were. I'm going to put up some other videos of, the actual trail runs and just have the footage of the Jeeps in there. I'm still working on that. I've got a ton of footage, so I'm going to piece out a few of the, more impressive stuff and put those together. Top of the World is rated a 6 out of 10 for Moab. Here's the guidebook for Easter Jeep Safari this year, 2022. So Top of the World is rated a 6. Here's the 6 right here on the list of trail difficulty ratings. And to go on the safari, to go on a trail rated a 6 on an actual Jeep Safari, this is what it says. Trails are difficult with considerable erosion damage, loose rocks, dirt, and slick rock. Water in excess of 12 inches is possible with mud conditions. Steps not exceeding 36 inches. Four-wheel drive, 35-inch tires plus lockers are required. So they have that in bold. A winch would be a plus. Enhanced suspension travel and good clearance are required. Excellent driving skills are recommended. So I'm doing a 6, which is required to be locked with 35s. And I'm doing that trail on in a YJ that's still on spring under springs, 31s and one locker in the front, and that's it. So the trail, those 6s were pretty tough for a Jeep this size, but it did it. It went up. Top of the World with no real problem. I did drag my leaf springs, particularly in the rear. I dragged the leaf springs several times. I drug the belly several times. I drug the U-bolts on the front axle several times. Just typical, small tire leaf spring problems. I think the bumper took a couple of hits, but nothing crazy. I did hit the exhaust pipe underneath the center. I hit that exhaust pipe once, didn't do any damage, but I came off of a ledge at some point and almost completely clamped my tailpipe shut. So I had looked at that tailpipe and kind of thought that it was sticking out pretty far. It sticks out, past the shackles and is almost in line with the bumper, so it's definitely more exposed than it needs to be. But I don't want to cut it too short, because if you cut it too short and it's exhausting onto the shackle or the spring, then you can melt bushings and cause other problems. So I just ran it like it is. I'm probably going to cut an inch off of it now and just start there. And as it gets crushed, I might, just keep trimming it back and back just little by little. But I just took an adjustable wrench and fixed that, later that day. I just opened the exhaust back up. So while we were there, the YJ ran Top of the World, which is a 6, Hell's Revenge, which is a 6, and Fins and Things, which is a 4. So we also ran 7 Mile Rim, but I didn't take the YJ on that trip because the very first day on the way back to our campsite, after we had been wheeling all day, I was doing 65 miles an hour on the main highway through Moab, 191, and I was getting ready to turn left to go to our campsite towards Canyonlands. And when I lifted off the gas, after, I was pushing it pretty hard, doing 65 miles an hour uphill in the YJ, but it's not like I was full throttle or anything. So it's not, I wasn't hurting anything, I didn't think, but I was really pushing it, trying to keep up to the 65 mile an hour speed limit. But whenever I lifted off the gas pedal, the transmission just puked fluid everywhere underneath. It blew out. I'm assuming it blew out of the vent at the top or the breather hole. I'm not really sure why it did that, unless it was really hot from running it all day, and then that last section where I was pushing it really hard and had some pressure build up, and when I let off the throttle and all that pressure had nowhere to go, so it blew out of the vent. I'm not really sure what happened. But anyway, it blew out, started smoking like crazy because it landed on the exhaust pipe. And my buddy was behind me, called me. He's like, "Dude, you're smoking, pull over," and whatever. So pulled over. It still was running fine, but it was definitely a mess. It was definitely a mess underneath, and obviously something was wrong. So we went and got the truck and trailer, put it back on the trailer after one day of wheeling, towed it into town, and then I just kind of left it for 24 hours. And then the next day we did 7 Mile Rim, and I rode with Cameron and his JL. So 7 Mile Rim was pretty cool. Definitely not a hard trail. I think that one's also rated a 4. I can't remember. It had some pretty steep ledges in some points and some really steep optional climbs you could do, which Cameron and Steven took advantage of with their Jeeps, but I don't think the YJ could have done it with its short wheelbase and 31s. So Steven's Jeep is a 2000 TJ that he's had for 13 or 14 years, something like that. Probably 14 or 15 at this point. And he's been building it up, over the course of the last decade. If you look at some of my videos from a long time ago, 2009, 2010, that little green TJ that's stock or on 31s, that's the same Jeep that is now on tons and 40s, stretch, chopped. So it's a very custom build, tons of work. And Steven did all of that himself in his garage. So it's definitely one of the coolest Jeeps that I personally see, regularly. And he's on ORIs front and rear. He's on Cuck V axles. It's a Dana 60 Kingpin front, 14 bolt full float rear. I think he's running 538 gears with an aux in the front and an ARB in the rear. He's got an Atlas transfer case. He's still running the factory 5-speed NV 3500, I think, and the factory 4.0. Those will be coming out at some point, I'm sure, for a 5.3 or something like that. He stretched it 16 inches to make it LJ length, but an LJ is longer in the middle and behind the rear tire. He just stretched it in the middle, so the wheelbase is slightly longer and the departure angle is a little better than a factory LJ would be. I think that's pretty much it for his extreme stuff. He's got a front and rear bumper that he built himself, and I think a 10,000 pound winch on the front. But he's got a ton of supporting mods too. Like he's got hydro assist from PSC. He's just got all of his suspension links and everything are all completely custom. He made those himself out of a quarter wall DOM. But I think that's it. That's a lot, but I think that's it at the moment. I know he wants to do bead locks. Right now he's just running 17-inch, like some standard Pro Comp wheels. The tires are Pro Comp 40, 1350 17s. The Pro Comp Mud Terrain or Extreme Mud Terrain, something like that. But he's got more he wants to do. So that will be... I'll make some videos of that too at some point. There's 3 other videos on my channel over the last several years of him, just like stages of him building that. So if you want to see that Jeep when it was cut in half, I have some footage of that on my channel. Cameron's Jeep is a 2018 JL 4-door Rubicon. He has a 5.5-inch long arm lift kit. I think it's rough country. It is rough country, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And he's on 37, 1250, 17 General Grabber X3s, the red letters. Other than that, I don't think he has any other mods. He's on factory front rear bumpers still. All factory Rubicon stuff underneath, stock gears, stock transfer case, stock lockers, all that stuff. But still a very capable Jeep, especially when compared to my YJ on 31s. So I'm going to keep working on putting some actual trail run videos, but I'm going to throw some highlights, through this, some B-roll footage over this. A lot of the footage is contaminated, I guess, with wind noise. It was just so windy for the most part while we were out there, especially on some of them exposed cliff edges, like Top of the World and 7 Mile Rim, where the wind just blows constantly. We had a couple of really scary situations, particularly with Cameron trying to come up Hell's Gate. I legitimately thought Cameron was going to roll over backwards on Hell's Gate. Hell's Gate's one of those things where it's like, Steven went in it, drove right up it, no problem. Cameron got in there, and he just got in there a little bit wrong right at the beginning, and it totally messed him up as he was climbing. So Hell's Gate's one of those where it's, if you've got your tire placement right, it's super easy. You just drive up. But if you get in there crooked or you get a little off the line that you need to be on, you could really get hurt or really destroy your Jeep or, maybe die if you roll over just right, if you're high enough up there. So Cameron's inclinometer in his Jeep said he was at 46 degrees for the last part of that climb. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of that climb because I had handed the camera to Steven, and Steven forgot to hit record on it because the situation was just so tense. But yeah, spotting Cameron out of that was pretty scary, and his suspension was fully maxed out. Lifting a tire facing uphill with a long arm lift kit on a new JL is not something that I enjoyed. That was pretty sketchy. But we got him out of there. He didn't have any body damage. He did scuff up his tires pretty good because they took a big hit. Steven got a little twisted up on the escalator, also on Hell's Revenge. Hell's Revenge really got us this year. He got in there a little bit crooked at, maybe halfway up. And if you've never seen the escalator obstacle in person, it's hard to describe. It's so incredibly steep and deep. Those holes that you're in on that section is so deep. Steven's girlfriend was there, and I'm pretty sure she got some high quality pictures of me climbing over Steven's roof to try to get above him so I could spot him. So I don't know if I'll have any pictures for this video, but I'll try to get some of those pictures that she took so that I can share them. But I think her pictures, the quality, not only is the quality of her pictures much better, but I think the angle that she was at kind of gives you a better understanding of how crazy this obstacle was and how twisted up he was when he was in there. Steven also went through Mickey's hot tub, which was awesome to watch. That's a near vertical, and part of it might be vertical, climb out of that giant bowl halfway or 2/3 of the way through Hell's Revenge. So the last trail we did was Fins and Things. Fins and Things is an awesome little trail. I love the last 2 miles of that when you're just on top of the rock, and you can see down on both sides, and it's like riding a roller coaster up and down where the trail runs through. It's a really cool trail. And for it being a 4, there's some pretty steep climbs on that trail too. Obviously, like I said, the video does no justice to the obstacles, but if you ever go to Moab and you want to get introduced to Slick Rock for the first time, or you have a Jeep, kind of small like mine on 31s, and you want to start off kind of easy, but still be challenged and have an awesome scenery, run Fins and Things. It's in the Sand Flats Recreation Area, so it's like 10 minutes from downtown Moab, just like Hell's Revenge. The amount of traction you have is incredible. The views are incredible. The obstacles are super cool, super fun. Some technical spots that you can get, twisted up in and make it as hard or as easy as you want, depending on your Jeep and your confidence level. So we're back home, and Moab was awesome. I wish we were still there. We had so much fun. I'm kind of lacking motivation for the rest of these modifications, especially now that I need to kind of double check what's going on with the transmission. But I'm going to make a new goal and maybe try to make a new timeline so that I can find that motivation again to get working on the YJ some more. there was some crazy cool YJs there. I think the Genrite YJ, I can't remember which Genrite employee or the name of the Jeep, because they named all of their projects, but it's the red YJ that's been stretched and has I think it's like an LS3 or something engine. The engine really doesn't interest me that much. It's just the stretch and how it was finished out looks awesome. So maybe one day I'll have an extreme project like that, or I'll kind of thinking about maybe one day comp cutting this tub since it's already chopped up anyway from where the previous owner had those extended fender flares on it, and doing something like that. I don't think I want to do RRIs. I think I'd rather do like coilovers or something, but I don't know, maybe one day. That's very far in the future. For now, I'm going to stick with my current plan that's been the plan the whole time, which is the 8.8 swamp 35s. I got to put the body lift on and do some other little supporting modifications, and I want to be able to run the Rubicon on the factory wheelbase, just like it sits, basically, with a little bit more lift and a little bit more tire size. The transmission and the engine, for the most part, like except for puking transmission fluid everywhere, seem to be okay. I think the power steering in this Jeep, I think it might need a new pump. I'm not sure. Once we got into the trail, maybe like 3 or 4 hours into the trail, the power steering started to really get heavy. I think it was getting hot. So I have a hood vent on the list. I think a hood vent will help with that situation a lot. Just get rid of that heat that's building up under the hood from going so slow for so long. But that's definitely something I want to look at, a little closer when I get the 35s on it, because it's only going to get worse with the bigger tires. So that's it, just a quick overview. I wanted to get something put up, and I'll keep working on some trail videos for those of you that are interested. Maybe a month from now, I'll start working on some more parts install for this to get it ready for the Rubicon. Hopefully this year, maybe I can make a September run or something, like late summer, early fall time frame, but I don't know, we'll see. I'll try my best, but I'm not going to run the Rubicon alone either, so I got to convince somebody else to run it with me. I'm pretty sure I can convince Cameron, since he's in Arizona. Steven's in North Carolina, which is quite a bit more of a commitment from him to drive all the way out here, but we'll figure something out.